Well, we're going to be getting into Inferno fairly soon, and we have witnessed a complete turnaround of GODSENT's nuke when last time they got battered by the likes of mousesports. It definitely was a one-man show, however, for Mousers. It was only really Frozen who stepped up to the mark. The fact is, will the rest of the team freeze under the pressure, or are we going to witness them take down GODSENT on their map choice?
I hope for the neutral perspective, Tom. I'd love to go 3 maps. It's been a long day, but I genuinely would love to see this go the distance.
Me too.
But as you said, Frozen, 29 kills. Nearest player on his team is BMAS and Karrigan on 17. There's a huge disparity between the two. Meanwhile, GODSENT, Zen 25, Madden just behind him on 23. But we actually saw a lot of impact from players like Stiko, who's typically, by the way, playing ramp, and they only pushed him like twice. And both times they did push him, he wrecked them. So for pretty much half of the game, he wasn't really even tested that much. You can't even look at his stats that badly. But here we go. It's Inferno. It's GODSENT on CT side.
Could be a rough start. A lot of utility being expended towards the A site early on. The rotation coming back in thick and fast. But they're all actually isolated out towards this archway spot. BMAS is going to be there to start, and well, good luck, Farlig. If he even manages to get a kill here, I'd be impressed. Completely surrounded. Rox will get rid of him. However, Zen given an opportunity, and actually, he slows down Chris J enough for Emmy to finish him off. Now, they do have a kit available to them. That's going to be on Madden, who needs to connect these shots.
He'd do well to just survive and wait for his teammates to go up quad. Then while they're caught in 2 crossfires, then he can show his hand. But he's gone down to Frozen. That puts more pressure on his teammates. In they come. Headshots are plenty, and Frozen is the last man standing. As he runs off with a 3K, was joined by Rops at the end as well, but GODSENT do concede the first round. mousesports, though, that was by far and away not quite the convincing round we were expecting. It started well for them, and then it quickly got into a pretty sketchy situation, mainly because Zen landed a really nice shot as they pushed up arches. You get 2 in a row, which allows him the luxury of picking up the MP9.
Yeah, especially with the sort of counter reads that both teams had. Like, GODSENT couldn't have got that pistol round more wrong in terms of the setups they had. Chris J's decided to just roll with the CZ. Takes a hell of a lot of damage from Madden's Deagle, but other than that, not really too much. Stiko was basically the Deagle master. Like, you mentioned those 2 rounds on ramp. Both of them he didn't have a gun for. So the fact that he manages to shut them down is all the more ludicrous. Stack, of course, leaves Emmy alone, and well, you have to feel if they just go pushing into the B site, this round is done. Although Farlig starts to make a rotation. In fact, so does Zen. And it seems like GODSENT might be about to make the wrong call for the 2nd round in a row.
Yeah, seemingly the gamble not quite paying off. BMAS up and over flashbang, draws the CTs back into interest. Now mousesports fully pounce onto the open and available A site. GODSENT probably will just hold on, though. These gamble stacks, we talk about it often in maps like Inferno that are very difficult to retake on. You gamble stack aside, if you are incorrect, you just save your guns. You come back again into the next one. The alternative is you try and rush onto the site, likely die, and then have absolutely nothing to play with. So it's an understandable decision. Means they can also treat this as a bit of a timeout as well and poise and pontificate on what's going to be coming up into the next round. But the mousesports decide to rush in and try and hunt for weapons is yet to be seen. They do have 4 SMGs. And Chris J deciding not to fully invest only has the CZ. So even if they did lose a weapon or 2 here, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it seems like both teams are happy enough to just tap out. The only casualty of war come the end of this round will be Madden. The mousesports will have 2, and GODSENT still yet to get off the mark.
I'm actually quite interested as well. mousesports in that round, they probably took one of the riskiest 2nd round buys I've seen in a long time. Like, this is like an old school like buy. They went for 4 SMGs and 1 player bought nothing. They just went in with the pistol that they saved from the last round. So either they had a very, very good read on what GODSENT were going to be doing, which I'll be honest, I don't know how they could, considering they've literally played them once, and other than that, they've not played Inferno. or they just have such supreme confidence in the fact that they're able to get it done with just the utility and the fakes. Either way, though, it still leaves them in a position here where this is fairly risky. And you know what? It started very well for GODSENT this time.
It did, and with these smokes being put in place and BMAS basically bumping heads with Zen in the smoke, if Zen had got another one, it would have been so audacious and ridiculous. I was about to say that with enough time elapsing, they actually rotated away a player over on the A side. Now, the bomb still dropped back at T-spawn, and this could end up being mousesports' savior. Because had they have just kept pushing into B, likely would have died. Now they have decisions to make. They are moving into 2 of the 3 remaining GODSENT players. Stiko, we've already seen firsthand just how great his deagle can be. Enjoyed by the Dane of Farlig. Takes a speculative shot, falls back. Stiko now tries to thread shots through the smoke, missing all of them. Farlig, last line of defense with the Teague, but down he falls. BMAS having none of those deagle shenanigans. And Stiko can't really do anything. He's been very close to a couple of those smoke bangs, but not sticking either of them. And that should be the round falling into place. Whereas before it was worthwhile to save. They do have 2 Kevlar on the 2 players, but only a UMP and a deagle. And I'm sure they'd like to upgrade those to M4s and get a really good start on the CT side. In terms of mousesports, they very well may just charge this down. They've made sure that there can't be any kind of ninja defuse come in, and now they can go all systems ahead. UMP sprays a little bit labored from Madden, and he does pay the price. That should have been a kill, honestly, Tom. That would have been a bit more money in his back pocket. It's a bit awkward. At least Frozen goes down with the bomb.
It's something extra, I guess, but in reality, with the round that was actually bought into, as said previously from mousesports, we're looking at them with so much money that they're not really going to care too much. It's a little bit of a minor irritation and some cost I'm sure they won't enjoy. And if you look at what they purchased here, they finally invested into an AK. They still have enough to comfortably buy into the next round no matter what happens here. So you have to look at this and say, GODSENT need to be really careful. Now, Madden is someone who is a don of the SMGs. He is more than happy to keep these guns in play. He is hyper-aggressive at times. And started things off with a pretty impressive nade onto Carrigan. Zen in the corner, though, is not going to be cleared, but somehow BMAS wins that duel. I'm sure that will be a frustrating one. Zen. Timing's good for Madden, but BMAS again, still surviving on just 6 HP. I mentioned this is almost a bonus round for them. If they somehow win it, the money is going to be impressive on their side. And more importantly, their 4-0 lead is quite scary for GODSENT.
It's good flashbang. Very good flashbang. Emmy now stuck in the corner. He knows he's going to be swept on. Oh, still 2 kills. The weakened BMAS was a freebie, but it was that second frag onto Frozen that was so impressive. And now he's given the rest of his team a 1-on-2. It's up against Rops. He was eerily quiet on Nuke. Had he have shown up, I'm sure they would have got across the finish line. But now he has a chance to make amends. Now he has a chance to make that impact felt. With the AK, headshot perfect onto Farlig, pixel perfect, and the spray lives up to the mark as well. mousesports take the 4-0 and completely destroy GODSENT's economy again.
Yeah, they say lightning never strikes twice, and if you're talking about Rops having back-to-back quiet maps, I think that will be even more rare. It just doesn't happen. The guy is a machine, once again proving that those robotics are not flawed. He will make this a 4-0. Unfortunately for GODSENT, that is the kicker. Because as I said, that was their bonus round. That still had a couple of SMGs and a few purchased rifles. There was plenty of cash going forward for mousesports. Now, Madden and Zen have bought into this. It's not a good buy, but it is a workable one. The thing I'm not enjoying is so far, this will now be 2 rounds in a row that have potentially been purchases that have had a weakness within them. One of them in this case is Farlig, who's going to seemingly save up a little bit of extra cash to make sure he can maybe get an AWP in the future. But going all in here gives such a huge chance for mousesports to get a fantastic start on their T side.
Yeah, and that's why I said they got their economy destroyed, because I really did think that we were going to see like a half buy come in. I mean, I suppose they got max round loss bonus coming up, but it does put a lot of pressure early on in this decision. And so far, the decision seems pretty decent. Farlig only can get one, but now Emmy with the M4 through the wall into Carrigan's head. Again, it's all about Emmy making the call and the troops following him on their path to victory, perhaps. Although, with a 4-0 deficit to kick things off on the CT side, this really is battling against all the odds. Stiko now can get a crossfire with Zen. Rops, if he pushes out, likely will fall to one of the two of them. If he can get a 1-for-1 trade, though, that would be worthwhile. That flick was close, but won't yield a frag, and he gets smoked into position. This does allow mousesports, though, to decide if they want to try and take middle control instead. And if worse comes to worse, they can back away. Although it looks like Rops is about to try and flash himself through that smoke, decides better of it. Maybe seeing if he hears any sound cues or a push come into him. Flash is good again, but Stiko turns around in time, takes the head off of Rops, and now Frozen, alongside BMAS, open up business onto the site, and this turns into a winnable round. The grenade is good, knocking Frozen down to 28 HP. Counter flash is in play, affords Frozen the luxury of getting back to the site. He relocates, and Madden getting BMAS dead to rights. He kind of sprayed through the middle of them, Tom. Very unfortunate. Couldn't pick which one he wanted to focus first, and in doing so, he gave his life away. GODSENT, first round.
You got to respect it as well. They took a risk going for the purchase here. They denied a potential AWP coming up in the next round, but clearly feeling like they were on the brink of a win, and with how close the previous round was, they may have actually put the pain onto the economy of this T side. I'm interested to know how it is. Not too bad. Maybe a grenade or two missing, but nothing they'll really be too worried about. And in fact, it's nigh on perfect. Next round, though, might not be the same case, but, well, we're yet to see, up until this point, GODSENT even win a round, let alone get 2 in a row.
Been a couple of close rounds, though, where GODSENT will feel they could have easily got it done. Emmy, with the wide swing, though, has cost them dearly over on the B side of the map. At least Zen will keep them a player to the good. Molly down, forcing away Carrigan. A lot of the utility has now been depleted. It's fairly centralized on Frozen, who's the only player with a smoke. So this is going to be a tough ask to crack onto one of these sites with. They need Frozen to go huge again, as he did so often on Nuke. He has spotted Farlig, the corner of his eye, but his position was very unfortunate and couldn't really do anything about it. Well-placed incendiary, keeps BMAS, keeps Carrigan in position. Flash is now coming through. They look to explode on top of it. Flashbang could not have been sweeter, and Carrigan cleans up. He cleans house, Zen and Farlig sent reeling. And now GODSENT have got to get another clutch. They've got to retake A again. Madden needs to wait for Stiko to get up close. He's taking his sweet time up middle. But if he can get this first headshot, if he can crack back onto the site, it should be success again for GODSENT. 2 very separate angles now that mousesports are assuming. Maintaining with BMAS's headshot. And now Stiko, the arduous task of clutching the 1v2 while stuck behind a smoke, and BMAS goes one better. An unreal clutch out from mousesports against the odds.
And that's now a couple of rounds that have gone in that direction for them as well. We saw the Rops clutch earlier on. Now BMAS goes huge. And the thing that I always question sometimes is like with the synergy here. Like, firstly, this is a 4v2 situation. Like, you can't let those rounds slip away, GODSENT. But more importantly, the way they played the 2v2. Madden was already firmly within the site before Stiko was even able to get anywhere near. I can't imagine that was the plan. Chris, well, it's almost like he caught that one on the top of his nose, balanced it, and then it went off. He's taken a lot of damage, but in the meantime, BMAS looks like he's looking to go on a tear himself, pushing aggressively forward. Was only a trade. Actually, he's getting tagged up a bit himself. They've got to be careful here. They can't afford to lose to this round.
Boost up onto CT. We'll see Stiko's Deagle. Likely going in first, but he is the opening pick on towards the B side. Any with just the USP at the back of the site, even to get 1 kill would have been impressive, let alone more than that. And with Zen also falling in amongst the chaos, that leaves Farlig's Deagle against the world. mousesports off to a 6-1 lead. Almost the polar opposite to how the nuke started, and GODSENT romped ahead with a 6-2 lead, and then mousesports came back. We'll have to see if GODSENT can take a leaf out of Carrigan's playbook. Although Farlig may very well get the drop onto Rops, be careful what you wish for, because Rops is hungry, and he keeps pushing through GODSENT players. Timeout deployed, and GODSENT now... I'm curious what they're going to go for, Tom, because they haven't really been too aggressive. We haven't seen them really take apps control, maybe push down middle, a lot of banana control either. It feels like mousesports, by and large, have had free reign to go wherever they please on the map at any given time.
Yeah, I think obviously we've got to put an asterisk because some of the rounds have been like ridiculous clutches. So it's not like GODSENT have been completely bodied out of this game, as it might suggest from the scoreline. But there's definitely been positions where you kind of look at it and go, okay, that's a bit of a worry. That's a bit of a problem. And they've started to try and respond with a few aggressive plays. I'm hoping, again, that we see some sort of resurgence from Farlig. Because he started fairly slow on nuke, but then came into his own a little bit later on. And they need him to start sort of denying a lot of this early map control, maybe punishing a few of the players. Now, you mentioned aggression. If I'm looking at any player for aggression on this team, Madden's name comes to mind. And although they are going to take a lot of banana control, after the pause, mousesports have decided, okay, we know you're going to change something. We know you're going to try and adapt to us. So we're just going to go straight into the apartments.
Straight in the apartments, but also arches as well. Carrigan making moves through there. Seems like it's backfiring for the time being. Could even be a clean sweep. Maybe the magic of the tactical timeout will call to the forefront again. And Farlig to finalize the round with his 2. GODSENT, they reaped the rewards of that timeout, Tom. I'm impressed. mousesports did try something different, but they walked into a great crossfire that was in from both Stiko and Zen. Never really got a chance to get into the round. Just shut down before they could even make moves in.
Yeah, I think obviously you're going to try and change something up a little bit, or a lot of the time you will. And because of that, GODSENT were able to get banana control very, very easily. This time, they're going for it again. They have sent 4 players. So they're expecting, okay, what are the chances that mousesports are going to try and go for a fast A take twice in a row? Slim. It's not very common. A lot of the time, there's an early battle for banana from either side. So, okay, we'll stack things up. We'll send a lot of utility in that direction, then quickly rotate back. Now, Carrigan, he's trying to retrieve the gun, but I sort of question whether this is even worth the risk. If he was peeked there, he had the bomb. The rest of his team are on the other side of the map. Luckily, they had already fallen back. So it's not going to matter too much. He'll drop the bomb in a slightly safer position and look to try and deny them that control, because that's what allowed that crossfire in the last round, Vince. They had so much control that they knew, okay, well, they can't be anywhere near banana, so we don't have to worry too much about our rotations. We can just pretty much set up this crossfire, as you mentioned, on the site.
We're about to get tested with a 4-player strong push over on B. Emmy sat here with Madden. Flashbang is good. Forces Madden away. The wide swinging from Emmy, yielding 1, and now Madden steps up to the plate. Doesn't really need to get any more kills, just needs to stay alive. There's enough time for mousesports to fake and play some mind games. Wait for the pivoting A players to get up close, play together as United Force, and this round should fall into place relatively comfortably. But you are against Chris J and Rops, a formidable duo. The tag team champions perhaps coming to the forefront as Chris J peaks 1 too many times. Felt compelled to do so though. Rops a very static weapon. Sometimes you have to take the fight to the opposition, and while Rops wasn't too far off connecting the dots onto Stiko's head, he only tagged him down to 20, and there's enough time for the defuse.
These rounds are scarily close, though. Every time GODSENT seemed to get one over the line. Luckily, they finally put the pain onto mousesports, enough so that their money now becomes a bit of an issue, Vince. So this is where things are going to become a little bit tougher for the European side. Of course, we do know that they can make things work with these pistols. Frozen's Deeg is something to fear. BMAS has been playing very well so far. 133 ADR. But this is a good sign for GODSENT. And sure, it might not have necessarily been the players I expected to come online, with Emmy getting a couple of kills in that round. But I don't think they're really going to care. Even if they just put up a decent fight on Inferno, I think that will be enough to set them up nicely for the 3rd and final map. realistically, I don't expect them to take mousesports pick, and mousesports have looked pretty good so far. However, I also didn't expect them to take nuke for a second time, so they have been a team pretty damn good at proving us wrong thus far.
Yeah, the only thing I expect from GODSENT at this point is the unexpected. I just expect them to be pretty solid team, defy all my beliefs about what they're going to be able to bring to the table. You cannot take this team lightly. That much has been put into place. Astralis may have had their issues recently. Obviously, just got announced that Glaive is resuming the IGLing duties, proving that it wasn't a fluke with that victory over mousesports on nuke. Whether they can pick up the slack, though, and bring this Inferno back under wraps is yet to be seen. Stico will carve out a path with the first. Minimal damage inflicted across, and with only pistols up against them, and the bomb's still back up towards the middle of the map. Someone has to go pick this one up. Farlig's in that speedway spot. How is Carrigan taking the head off of Emmy? And Madden was playing patiently, waiting to see if a second player went in. Now he'll get that second opportunity, but Farlig takes it away from him. Not that he'll care. Not that GODSENT will care. They've got themselves another round. And only one loss means that their economy is starting to get into a nice, comfortable position.
I'm guessing Emmy didn't have any head armor. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Probably a little bit frustrating, but I'm sure he of any of the players in this server at the moment are not going to mind. Currently, actually, one of the top fraggers overall. You've got him, BMAS slightly above Zen, and then Rops on a similar fragging distribution, but yeah, tactical pause taken. Now, we saw it hugely successful for GODSENT, although I don't think they necessarily changed too much other than banana control, and it was an A-site hit. I think even just giving your players a little bit of a time, talking things over. Of course, we do see Mytha now joining this team as well, so there's plenty of reason for mousesports to take a moment. He was off with the Renegades for quite a time, but has made his way back to Europe and definitely deserves the opportunity with a top-tier organization. On the other side, of course, it gives Devilwalk, major winner, and a legend within Counter-Strike again. So I'm hoping both teams will take plenty of pauses. Farlig now is going to be the one wrecked by the one tap. Do they check for Madden? No, but the flash is good. However, BMAS doesn't need his sight. He can smell his opponent. Unfortunately, he can't. Well, maybe he could smell the HE. It was just so close it didn't matter.
Like a reptile. Can sense it. No problems. Will be a super tilting moment, though, for GODSENT. Like, he's got a perfect flashbang tossed in, and then Carrigan just entries onto the site, charges straight down, maintains eye contact, asserts dominance. And Stico, gotta feel bad for him. It was the same deal on Nuke, really. Like, he was just never really required. Whenever he was, he pretty much got the job done. But so many retakes, so many situations where he basically just has to save. Only died 5 times, with mousesports potentially picking up a 7th, which absolutely will pick up a 7th. That much is almost guaranteed at this stage. But mousesports will have a 3-round lead. Stico, can he hold on with his AK? No. Rops actually dispatches of him and only loses 26 HP. GODSENT, though, have been building up a nice sum of economy, but this will certainly eat into the bulk of it. And this is just absolutely outrageous. Fully flashed, still wrecks Madden.
It seems like Stico's gone from dropping guns to just listening to All By Myself on repeat. There's no one coming in his direction. And yeah, unfortunately, I think Carrigan as well just seems to be enjoying himself when it comes to Inferno, going for those entry frags and taking the risk so his players don't have to, even getting a little bit hot under the collar, it seems, as he has stood in the flames down to 21 HP. And the naval dug him out. He didn't even get to see anyone. He was blind, he was burnt, and eventually he was blown up with the shrapnel from the HE. And, well, see you later, Carrigan. I guess you're not enjoying it anymore.
Well, I guess they can't rely on his 2 entry frags for this round. Utility used to perfection on GODSENT. Madden with the FAMAS, though, will be leaving his brother of Farlig to hold B alone. This is pretty common, though. Hold B alone with the AWP. Gives you the ability to take a shot, fall back into ruins, especially when you're already up a player. You can play retake if you absolutely need to. It's not really that much of a problem. Now, the issue is, if Farlig misses the first shot, very susceptible to being overrun. That's where things get a little bit sketchy for GODSENT. He won't miss. Chris J pummeled in the head, and although Farlig is slightly awry on the follow-up shot, doesn't really matter. The damage has been inflicted. Rops has also been cartwheeled out. Farlig can fall back through the Molotov, no problems. All he has to do is watch the angle, call intel that no one's at the back of the site, and get a kill, all the better for it. But a good flash, and BMAS has gone in for the pizza. Hold on a second. I may have thought this round was over. I've almost put it in the back of my mind that it was done. It was 2v5, but now mousesports, they're so close to bringing it back home. Zen is going to try and pull this out the fire, pull this out the flames. He has no kit currently, needs to get back over onto the site with it. He's got to smoke. Maybe he can try and fake this and get Frozen out into the open. But Frozen with a 3K is going to open up with a 4th. And GODSENT have been utterly devastated, gutted by that 2v5 clutch.
Frozen is ruddy ridiculous. Like, what on earth what has he done today? Like, what was his warm-up routine? Has he used any specific sponsored apps to, like, get this aim so crisp? Because on the first map, he dropped 29 kills. Sure, maybe a little bit of a slower start to that one, but I don't think they're going to mind. A 4K that decimates the money of GODSENT once again. Well, we were spoiled by his performance on the last map. Some of the clutches we got to see from GODSENT players as well. And now he's looking to continue the show. He's earned those eco frags. He's coming in like a hungry hippo and gobbling them all up. Zen, I'll at least take down Carrigan. Seems to be a little bit cursed at this point in time. However, I don't think he will care. Frozen's going to keep dragging him, kicking and screaming. And leaving Farlig all on his lonesome. And it's unfortunate because you kind of look at that round up until the 2v5 and GODSENT played it really well. Like, everything was going their way. They got some great picks. They held off the rotations. They played the 4-1. And then mousesports just ruined their day.
This does feel like a game that has been dictated so often on these really impressive individual efforts. Mousesports have been relying on it and a ton. This time, the difference is that Frozen actually has a supporting cast. You have BMAS dropping 14, Rops on 10. And remember, on Nuke, he was pretty much double anybody else on his team the entire way through. That can make all the difference. BMAS finding an island between all the liquid of the Molotovs. And in staying alive, he at least can pivot in for one. It has been neutralized, but now they can turn their attention over onto the A side of the map. Zen getting one kill of his own before he can drop back under the sanctuary with the smoke. But now Rops in position has been thwarted by Farlig. Those are the positions that you expect to see Rops really tee off from, but do not count off mousesports. They picked up a 2v5 earlier. Now they've got a 2v4. Positionally, though, Frozen is basically all alone because Chris J is making moves up Banana, and now he finds himself as the last man standing. He may be walking into ME momentarily, who was over on B alone, and they can easily give up this plant. They know that mousesports will have a buy into the next round regardless. They need to make sure they not only win this round, Tom, but they get it done convincingly so they don't come into the next round with a 5-7 or a deagle. They want to give themselves the best chance at a 9-6 score.
I was thinking we might see Chris James come into play and bring that up through into the next round, but with the amount of highlight plays he's had in his career, he's going to give this one a damn good try. Already being pushed from multiple angles. I don't see him surviving. Smoke falling actually gives him a little bit of extra space. Allows him to push forward, but he might just play through the smoke. First kill goes his way, needs to turn around, and he's not quite fast enough. Sticko will put him in the grave and give GODSENT their 5th round. I'm sure they're not going to be too happy, but if they can get it to 9-6, this map does have opportunities on the T side, so it wouldn't be the end of the world.
Absolutely, and this is where they can unleash some of their more aggressive plays. Try and be unpredictable. Try and keep mousesports at arm's reach. Some very nice AWPing from the Dane. And now a tactical timeout in the last round of the half. Carrigan and mousesports know how vitally important this round is. He seems so calm and chill to me every time he switches to his camera. It's like, do you know you're playing a match?
Like he almost looks like he's just, I was about to say, he's just been caught napping. It's like Carrigan, are you asleep? No, I'm not. What do you mean? I've been awake the whole time. It's like, you haven't called for 4 rounds. No, I'm just listening to you guys. I was enjoying it. It's like, are you running in and dying so that you can sleep for a minute and a half? No, never did that. Never, anything of the sort. Have we won yet? Of course not. Joke. Before anyone takes that too serious. I can't believe that. That's the modern day, isn't it? You have to clarify. Sticko. Good position. One that they've seen before. The flashbang. Was that from a teammate? It was a great flash nonetheless. Whether it was by him or by one of the T's, it's given him a triple kill. And Sticko, it seems like he works in strides. Like he goes missing for large portions of the game, maybe because they avoid him. But when he is in the right place at the right time, seems to be a menace. We are going to see the T's rotate back. And again, we've seen this gamble a couple of times to completely negate the B site. And I'm not a fan. Like, it's a risk maybe worth taking because of how the rounds have been going so far. But look at the amount of space that's been taken. Naomi's going to know, but the flashbang leaves him completely blind. Carrigan looking to try and hunt him down and get some IGL and IGL action. Not the thing I watch in my spare time, but I know Vince loves it.
You got me. That is definitely my dream. Carrigan may very well absorb the first bullet to allow his teammate to start to flourish, or perhaps not. He actually bypasses the first round, and then Madden repeats with the AWP. GODSENT do make the comeback somewhat realistic. It will be 9-6 going through to the second half. We'll see if they can leapfrog over mousesports, but first, a short break.
Too long, all the gray between the right and wrong. Takes a warrior to sing this song. When the glory and the pain is gone, it's the failures that make you strong. And can you see the path you're walking on? We're moving up in the world. We're moving up in the world. We're moving up in the world. We're moving up. This is a warrior's world. This is a warrior's world. This is a warrior's world. This is a warrior's world.
Spending life like we're wasting time. Only sleepless nights without a clue.
We are back. It is mousesports against GODSENT. GODSENT taking the first map of Nuke, and mousesports again. They find themselves with an advantage 9-6. So moving into it, they're in the same spot as last time, but GODSENT go onto the T side. Now on Nuke, wasn't necessarily as good as they wanted it to be, I'm sure. But we know that on this map in particular, teams have been able to grind out T rounds more and more as of recent, especially if they can deny the economy early on. It's not over yet, and GODSENT, a pistol would be nice.
Pistol would be huge. A golden ticket to get back onto the ride, but Carrigan straight down top. Oh, in the second, 3 kills. Zen, Farlig, and Emmy before the 2 of the latter options have been dispatched, but a lot of damage to Rops and BMAS. Both of them below 15 HP, and Stiko could be the Grim Reaper. He could collect all the souls, but Rops does return fire. And now Zen, post-plant, should be the favorite to take this round. He'll have positional advantage. Rops couldn't see on the cross, and 1 bullet anywhere on Rops will seal the deal up nicely. Rops may have to play super aggressive as a result of that to try and wide swing some of these angles. He's now going to play a little bit more passive now that Zen has seen him. And unfortunately, he just had no health to feasibly pull that off, Tom. Nice effort, but GODSENT do pick up the second pistol.
Man, that was ridiculous. I think my favorite shot of that round was actually Zen when he went to pick up the bomb, shot 1 bullet and dinked Rops. I think it might even be just like, no, it was just before that. Like, he just ran past, shot 1 bullet and ran back away with the bomb. And Rops must have just been sat there like, I don't even know what happened. Like, ridiculous. But we are going to see an investment, a heavy one at that. Lots of utility for the CT side. And got a few HEs of their own, maybe in response. Chris J in the corner. Easy kill onto Emmy. Not quite prepared, and the nades over the top actually do a hell of a lot of damage. Frozen goes for the peak, and he's just tapped him through the wood with a CZ. Maybe not quite enough bullets to close the deal, but he's at least given his teammates a damn good chance.
Excellent opportunity considering coming into this round. They would have felt very unlikely to be reaching the hallowed ground of 10 rounds. But Rops has been perforated through the coffins, and now BMAS with 15 kills and over 100 ATR to his name has been having an excellent Inferno. Could just pick up some more accolades if he can pull off this 1v2. First player, Stiko, somewhat walks into his crosshair. That smoke does allow Farlig to make a move back with his Galil. Time ticking away. There is no kit for BMAS. Now there is. He's just picked it up. Smoke will be put onto the site. He has no idea where Farlig resides. Taps the bomb. Is anticipating some bullets to come through there. But Farlig is reading the situation perfectly. Now going for the full defuse. Pulls out the flashbang. But Farlig says no. GODSENT keep their T-half rolling forward.
That was a very well-played clutch situation from Farlig as well. Like, especially when he first started tapping the bomb to not spam anything through and then know the second time that it was for real. He read that situation perfectly. Now, you have to bear in mind, in context, that was still pistols for mousesports. Sure, it doesn't really help them out too much because they can't buy into this round. But they have proven that even with minimal investment, they can make things very, very costly and ridiculously close. And they're going to try and do the same here. Rops has actually invested into Kevlar, goes for the peak, but this time Emmy is not going to fall for his tricks. It will be an opener. There will be some money made as well, which is something GODSENT are going to desperately need. I would say because of the cost of the last round, they need to keep this one nigh on flawless. Well, Farlig takes a lot of damage from Frozen, but Chris unfortunately can't land a shot.
The round should just fall into place now. Carrigan could be a potential roadblock, maybe a bit of a bump. An otherwise fairly comfortable trajectory towards the 9th round on GODSENT, and tying us all up and an even keel. mousesports will have a buy into the next. But that point that we kind of touched on about how the T side of Inferno can really yield a lot of rounds. The current meta of Counter-Strike is pretty brutal towards the CT economy. Seems to be falling into place nicely. BMAS, though, at least will make one casualty and make his presence felt. I like the effort on the constant repeaks of the P250. Not going to be happening, though. The Finn stands his ground. And now mousesports, with a buy, can also afford an AWP. Let's see if they end up picking one up. Chris J could afford with 5.6k. He's thinking about this and decides to go with the M4 instead. And GODSENT decide, okay, let's properly figure this one out. This is a really important round. This is a fulcrum point in this best of 3. If we get the upper hand in this round and we keep mousesports down, we could just fast track ourselves to a 2-0 and we could move ahead in the DreamHack Masters.
We've already seen as well how terrifying that lower bracket looks. Even if you do, say, for example, get North, and maybe that's more of a freebie for some of the better teams. You then have the likes of, what, Astralis in there still, either Furia or G2. I think Furia were winning that series as well. That lower bracket is a death trap. You don't want to go anywhere near it. And the fact that GODSENT have almost sort of ruined everything. Maybe not for us, it's been a pleasure, but for the sort of groups that you would want to see, maybe a fan of the Masters, you're going, okay, we have the chance for these teams to play against each other, these teams playing against each other, and then all the teams we like get through, and GODSENT go, we're going to ruin everything. Send Astralis down to the lower bracket and put fear into the hearts of many. We've already lost Liquid today because of that. mousesports helping out along the way. And Farlig, he started this one off fantastically well. An opening pick, getting rid of Chris J. He's having a bit of a mare. 5 to 15, not the performance he would have wanted for sure. However, Frozen, he's been nothing less than superb.
Yeah, over both maps has been the constant real glimmer of hope. And now he's making sure that he puts that to use with some more kills. Second frag goes his way. It's Zen that runs into his crosshair. Still alive, still kicking at the back of the box. More players coming in. Bomb's been dropped down. And Frozen just absolutely shutting it down single-handedly and allowing the rest of his teammates to start to come in now and walk over the corpses that he's created. Rops will put the final nail in the coffin, but that is all on Frozen. He only got 2, but those 2 kills were so vitally important and huge amounts of impact.
He almost seems to be unkillable. Like, such aggressive peaks, taking fights, weakens one of the players while Carrigan spams through the smoke. I like the supportive play from Carrigan there as well, even though he ends up actually getting 2 kills for himself. But it's like he spams through the smoke just so that it slows down any player trying to get towards Frozen, allows him a little bit more space. Smart play, a risk on his part, and while Frozen is not slowing down, he's not stuck in place. Gonna get aggressive and take down Madden in the early stages of this round. Definitely not the hope of this side. GODSENT, they gave him one of the rifles. Farlig's just peeked back in. He tries to go for the double, but Frozen may have been caught off guard slightly. However, he corrects his aim once again.
Same story as last round, really. A repeat performance. Frozen single-handedly repelling the push, allowing mousesports the luxury of being a bit more comfortable on the A side of the map. BMAS is joined by Rops. Rops just underarms the smoke to try and cordon off this area. Grenade is there to greet him. Doesn't do as much damage as expecting. He's only got 56 HP left, but that looked like it landed on his face. Now, because of that smoke, they don't know if he stayed in the alcove or actually pieced out towards library. The timing nearly worked against Rops. He gets peeked through the smoke. It could be all she wrote. Does go 1 for 1. Will still maintain the advantage for GODSENT, or for mousesports, I should say. And GODSENT run into the blockade of BMAS. Zen 1-on-3 with 25 seconds to spare. Does have control over the bomb. They have to respect the potential. They put one of their 3 players over there, but he's not required because Carrigan alongside BMAS have managed to take an 11th round for mousesports, and now the economy for GODSENT is struggling.
The last couple of rounds have, again, started off with Frozen just decimating them, and I think that he alone wasn't quite enough. The first map, he didn't really have any of the other sort of standout players supporting him in any way. Now we've got BMAS and Rops, and as I sort of mentioned, that feels like it's going to be too much for GODSENT to handle if all 3 of those players are popping off Sticker as well. He's caught 2 nades in his back pockets, and they just obliterated him. Won't be left standing any longer. Needs to sit down, that's for sure. Luckily, it's in a round where you're not really expecting too much. Chris J jump spotting. Would have needed a pretty ridiculous shot, although he does take one in the back, and smoke expended from Chris. not wanting to fall any further. He's had 28 ADR so far this game. An explosive player for sure, but they do get through this map. I think they're going to need him for the third of Train because I honestly, at this point, I expect quite a bit from the map of Train from the side of GODSENT.
As do I. I think that will be another solid choice for them. In terms of the somewhat of an eco push, burning alive, Madden gets finished off by BMAS, who administers the mercy when the bullets spray his labored. Only gets the one, and then Rops will seal it up. So mousesports now take a 3-round lead. GODSENT will be back into a bye. I wonder if now is a justifiable time for another tactical timeout, perhaps, because this is getting into that realm where maybe mousesports should start to pull this away and head towards the Train that you were just touching on before. They decide against it. They're going to keep in with the full assault rifles. Galil for Stico. Everyone else with their AK-47s. Decent spawns for Banana as well, by the way. Madden can get up there pretty quickly, but mousesports have decided they want to try and take control. They want to try and fight for this, and simultaneously, Carrigan pushes straight down middle. Burn a kill onto Madden, and they fully force GODSENT onto their back foot. GODSENT have to go back to their spawn. It's only Stico that's up close in second mid, and he's all alone. Flashbang is good. What a call from mousesports. Carrigan, the brains behind the operation, but he can also execute with those 2 kills.
Shot from Zen. Something at least, but there really wasn't much in that round whatsoever. I sort of had a mini scream in there because Chris burnt himself down 99 HP while on Banana and just managed to get into the corner before he died. But yeah, impressive round from mousesports, and I like that. It's almost a round to discombobulate the side of GODSENT. Just throw them completely off. Like, you've had your strategies, you've come up with your plan, and then Carrigan comes in and just gives you a slap round the face, and everything that you were thinking about is gone. And it feels like me in exams, really. You revise, you prepare, and then you get there and you can't even remember how to spell your own name.
Madden's not forgot how to put the Deagle down range, and there's Chris. He's sick and tired of the low ADR. Says, I'll pad those stats, thank you very much. Stico has managed to rummage around the back of the CTs, but he's probably dead to BMAS in a couple of moments. And there we go, 14-9. GODSENT will have a bye. They're going to have enough for an AWP, but does Farley even want to go for it? He indeed does. Some AWPers, honestly, don't like it on the T side as much. There's not as many opportunities. It's more of a reactive sort of position at times, but mousesports only 2 rounds shy from Train.
Here comes Farley's AWP. Props is doing it again. Fool me once, they say. See whether or not he can get them the second time. Nobody watching. Clinical as ever. Rops is going to spray 2. Goes back for the 3rd, but eventually Emmy will trade. And actually, just as quick as they come, they disappear. As 3 kills go back in the team's favor. Chris J, maybe some life has come up for this man. After a quiet couple of rounds, he looks to slam GODSENT back into the ground, leaving just Stico remaining. There's been so many twists and turns in this round, Vince. Maybe there will be one more. 2 initial kills for mousesports, 3 back in response. Chris then puts it down to a 2v1, and now Stico trying to complete, but he can't quite do it. It will be mousesports to convert another round as close as they come, but it didn't really feel that way. Ought to be saved for Chris J. And a bomb plant at least giving something for GODSENT, but at this point, you have to feel mousesports have done enough.
Yeah, with 6 chances to close this out, it definitely feels that way. Love that tactic, though. There was a slight change-up from the last time they did it. Last time, they put a lot of utility down on Banana and tried to fight it and actually actively forced the T's back onto T steps. They had 2 players pushed down middle. It was Carrigan. The player behind him flashed him in. They got HEs. This time, they gave up Banana control. They allowed GODSENT to go up Banana, and in doing so, it allowed Rops to get behind him and tee off with 2. It was so well played. It's a slight tweak which has a huge impact on the same tactic they went for just a few rounds prior. But we were kind of writing GODSENT off. Understandably, I think the odds definitely don't favor them. They have got the opening pick in this round before Zen has also been put down for his misery. Ropson, BMAS holding it down towards the B side of the map. And they still have Farlig alive. He gets the drop onto Rops, and he has the bomb. He can traverse across the A and get a post plant. This is a winnable round for the Dane.
He's been good. He's been very good in this map. I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to pull this one through. Needs to try and isolate a duel, though, so he's going to try and get a little bit more aggressive, and BMAS is ready and waiting. He's had a superb map, 25 kills to close things out, and it is going to be mousesports taking us to a third and final map. It was each team taking their choice, not something we've seen too often throughout this tournament. But GODSENT are going to have to fight one more time. It was a similar case when they faced off against Astralis, and they have trained to come up one more time, Vince. The question is, do you believe they can do it once again?
I honestly think this is a 50-50 for me. I have no idea what to expect on Train, but I think the kind of plays that they have on GODSENT, they can at least make this close. My concern is Chris was starting to wake up at the end. Chris plus Train equals a very bad time for his opposition. So I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm looking forward to another close map.
Well, luckily you won't have to be holding it long, because we're going to be going off to a pretty short break, and then we will be back to break this match down. Pretty big resurgence from mousesports after map number 1. GODSENT couldn't quite keep up with their Inferno. A streak of rounds coming in towards the end was enough for mousesports to win that in fairly convincing fashion. And Vince, we saw some pretty tasty plays across the board coming out from the mousesports side. More of what we expected in terms of this match.
Yeah, I think that was more of what we anticipated, and we also said that one of the important aspects would be if Frozen had any of the supporting cast. The first map he had 29, nearest player had 17. Well, this game BMAS, Rops, and Frozen all had over 20, 25, 23, 23. In terms of ADR, the three of them had between 100 and 91 ADR. So honestly, that was a very well-rounded performance. Chris had a very rough start. I think he mentioned that at one point he was like 5 and 15, but he ended well. When the rounds started to come to him AWPing on coffins, he pretty much held it down single-handedly. And GODSENT, they were close for the bulk of that, but you have to take into account the last 7 rounds went the way of mousesports. It was 9-9, then they stepped it up on the CT side. Once they had their economy built up, once they were stabilized, it was very, very one-sided in the end. So I think in terms of momentum, we move across the Train. It doesn't look great for GODSENT, but again, I'm not going to write them off because I don't really know what to expect from them.
Well, yeah, this was the map that they actually managed to beat Astralis on initially. They countered a lot of the aggressive plays that were being attempted. In fact, I think they completely negated Zipix almost the whole game. Like, he was having a really tough time of holding B, and their faster takes in that direction meant that he struggled. I think the main performer was actually Glaive. Even Device had a bit of a rough performance. So they've proven that they can sort of tussle with the best of them. At the same time, I feel like mousesports are a very different beast to a team like Astralis. Like Astralis, I sort of look at the 5 players across the board. There's a lot of talent there, a lot of strategy there, a mix of the two. Whereas I feel like there's a lot more aggressive capabilities when it comes to mousesports. Like, they have a lot of young, very sort of talented individuals. Like, Rops can easily take over a round, and I don't think we've even seen close to the best of him thus far, even though he had a pretty damn good first map. We're going to switch things up, though, and have a look at BMAS, because in that first map, he was okay. Like, that's what I'll give to him. I expected him to be one of the pinnacle players, and Madden had a pretty damn good performance. Throughout the tournament, he's been decent, but more so if you look at this map in particular, I think he was one of the pivotal players, having a huge amount of impact rounds. It was him and Frozen again as the main cast, but Rops was chiming in, and that's still the thing that terrifies me about this team. If those 3 players are performing as well as they did in Inferno, I don't think it matters what GODSENT do. They have to try and at least shut one of them down, otherwise they're done.
Yeah, and that's a similar sentiment to what we said on Nuke as well, right? Like if we have the big heavy hitters sort of even, not necessarily going 100%, but if they're like 80, 85%, that probably will be good enough. Speaking of which, it was 85% to 15 when it came to the Twitch vote. So a lot of you right now that went for mousesports probably were sweating a little bit after that Nuke performance. But, you know, it's one of those things where you come through into this, and I think anything at this stage is a nice bonus to GODSENT. If we're looking at sort of the overdog / underdog situation, then there is an element of no pressure for GODSENT, right? Like if they lose, everyone expected them to lose. It's not like they're eliminated either. They go down to the lower brackets. I think there's more pressure on mousesports because there's more expectancy on mousesports.
Well, you mentioned the Twitch chat, Vince, and a wise man once said, it might be Kanye West, but we'll go with wise man, that what is a god to a non-believer? So I'm going to be looking at this one and saying the chat might not believe in this GODSENT roster, but they are looking to take this one over the line. They're going to try and get things through on train. They have managed to take down Astralis on this map already in the tournament. They've looked stellar throughout. They've given a battle versus mousesports already, and they want to survive in the upper bracket and make it to the playoffs. One more map to go. We'll be back after the break.